Hey guys, it's finally time to talk about the character patch notes for Street Fighter V Season 2. So these videos are pretty tough to make. I'm going to be doing one character per video. That way it's easier for you guys to digest this. As for the patch notes themselves, I'll be writing them verbatim on the screen for you. And you can also check the video description below for the actual link to the official notes so you can read them yourself. But for the most part, I'll be summarizing all these changes just so it's easier for you guys to understand. So let's begin. Okay, let's start with Ryu's forward throw. It got hit with the universal nerf. Many characters in Street Fighter V got their forward throws nerfed in general. So the recovery, stun, and throw distance all nerfed. Ryu throws much further now, which takes away his throw loops, which is one of the things that made Ryu really strong. Moving on to standing light punch. The anti-air part of this move has been nerfed, and if you do happen to hit your opponent, it's hard to cross underneath him. So you can still use standing light punch as an anti-air, it's just less effective as one. And if you do happen to hit your opponent with this, it's much harder to dash underneath them because it hits them further away now. The range, the horizontal range on this actually has been buffed for what it's intended for, which is a 3-frame fast normal. So we got some more range on that. Standing light kick. They nerfed the range of Ryu's standing light kick. This is actually one of Ryu's biggest nerfs. A lot of his block strings don't work anymore in lights into standing light kick, for example. And also this was one of Ryu's main tools to punish things that were -4 or greater because of the speed of his standing light kick. Like standing light kick into EX Fireball or standing light kick into EX Tatsu. All that stuff has been hurt for Ryu. Moving on to crouching medium kick. Now a slower start up by 1 frame now, but more active for 1 frame. So it's a slower normal in general, which makes it less effective as a poke, because it'll get stuffed by other pokes. But when the opponent is laying the ground, it's better used as a meaty now, because it's more active. It sticks out so your opponent can walk into it easier, or if he's getting up off the ground and you stick the normal out, it'll be active for longer. Standing medium punch now. 1 frame more advantage, so it's +7 now instead of +6, and easier to whiff punish and less effective as a poke. They nerfed the range, and it's easier to hit in general. So you can't just stick out Ryu's standing medium punch constantly, otherwise the opponent is going to have an easier time actually hitting you out of this if he spaces correctly. They gave it 1 more frame advantage. They made it +7 to compensate for the slower crouching medium kick. Since crouching medium kick is 1 frame slower, it wouldn't have linked if they didn't make this +7. So standing medium punch to crouching medium kick still works because of this. Standing hard punch. Slower by 1 frame to make sure it doesn't link into standing medium punch. Since standing medium punch is now +7, they don't want you to link into a standing hard punch, right? Otherwise, there's no use for that target combo. So they made standing hard punch slower because of it. It's a chain reaction, guys. That's how balancing characters work. But you can also now cancel standing medium punch into specials or super while you have V-trigger activated. So that's a cool new buff to Ryu. Moving on to crouching hard kick. It is now slower by 1 frame. So now it's 8 frame startup instead of 7 to make it once again not link from standing medium punch, because standing medium punch is +7. They don't want you to link into crouching hard kick either. So crouching hard kick got nerfed because of it. Also, crouching hard kick got nerfed range and does less damage. So they're really hitting Ryu's normals pretty hard. Huge chain reaction. Standing hard kick, easier to whiff punish. This was warranted because Ryu players like to stick out a lot of standing hard kicks all the time to get an accidental crush counter on your opponent, and then it's like another standing hard kick into a standing to an uppercut. So they're just making it so that if you're planning to just constantly press standing hard kick, it's gonna make it much easier for your opponent to hit you out of it if he spaces correctly. Crouching light punch, active for 1 more frame, so now it's 3 frames active rather than 2. More pushback, and fix some random bug that made you not get counter hit when mashing crouching light punch. Don't worry about that. It's just that for some reason when Ryu was mashing crouching light punch, sometimes he would just not get counter hit when he's supposed to. So it's just a small bug. But now that it's 3 frames active, it's better used when your opponent is on the ground and he's getting up, and it's much easier to time that crouching light punch because it's more meaty. But there is more pushback, so when you hit your opponent with this, he'll be pushed further away from you, so you can't just abuse it. Crouching medium punch, slower by 1 frame, so now it's 6 frames start up rather than 5, so it's slower, but it reaches further. It reaches further, but it's easier to punish because the hurt box is extended, so if you just stick it out blindly, it's easier for your opponent to hit you out of it. nerfed it being used as an anti-air basically. Many you'd see Ryu players sometimes use his crouching medium punch as a substitute to beat Armika's splash, her down medium punch, or a cannon strike, for example, Kami's dive kick. It's just a safe way because when you do an uppercut, you have to commit. And if the opponent baits you, you're in trouble because you're recovering. But if you stick out a crouching medium punch to use as an anti-air, it's safe because even if they didn't do it and you're misjudged your range, it's not that you're not exposed for too long. So Capcom wanted to nerf his crouching medium punch used as an anti-air. Jumping light kick, easier for the opponent to anti-air now. It's more exposed, bigger hurt box, and has less vertical range, which means you have to be deeper now when you jump in to hit your opponent. Ryu's jumping light kick was considered by a lot of people broken because it had an insane hitbox, so they're just touching up on that so you don't use jumping light kick for everything. Jumping medium punch, they nerfed the damage of jumping medium punch. I don't know why, and the second hit is no longer an overhead. I don't know why they did this. They're trying to do it to normalize it, so it's like Chun-Li's jumping hard punch 2 hits. I don't know. Seriously, this is kind of overkill at this point. I don't understand why Capcom nerfed the second hit. To use this thing outside the box, man, what is the problem with that? But this was mostly against tall characters like Birdie, for example, where Ryu can jump in and time his standing medium punch so that the second hit also hits an overhead. So if he's still crouching, he doesn't know when to stand. You can do like an ambiguous thing where you can time it so it only hits once and then you go for a low and they'll stand up too early. But now both hits, are not overheads. I don't know. It's crazy. The second hit's not overhead, I mean. So if he happens to block their first hit, he'll block the second hit. I don't know. Overkill. Jumping medium kick, less vertical range. They just nerfed his cross up a little bit. Alright, back hard kick now, -2 on block from 0. So it's still safe, unless, you know, a Zangief does an SPD or a Raging Demon or something. It's still safe, but now you lose your turn. Your opponent can act before you. So you can't just constantly fish with Ryu's back hard kick. But you can now cancel the first and second hit into special, super, or V-trigger. So it got a nerf and a buff. If they made it still 0 on block with this buff, it would be out of control. But this is one of Ryu's best buffs because now he can do like a back hard kick, and if they block it, he can cancel into a fireball, for example. It's a pretty nice buff. Forward medium punch, this is Ryu's overhead. It's now slower. +1 on hit now from 0, which means that if you get a counter hit, for example, you can link something after that. And maybe that's the reason why they buffed Ryu's horizontal range on a standing light punch, so you can link after his overhead much easier on counter hit. I'm just guessing. But more punishable on block, it's -6. This is a universal nerf to many of the overheads in the game. They're trying to make all the overheads around -6 now. Forward hard punch, this is Ryu's dashing 2-hit punch. They increased the stun by 50, and +2 more on hits. It's now +8 from +6. Pretty big buff to Ryu's forward hard punch. However, the forward hard punch is still hard to land in general. You know, they didn't like change the speed or anything. It's just more rewarding if you do happen to land it. It's gonna hurt a lot more stun. Now that it's +8, you can link things like crouching hard kick, standing hard punch, back hard kick. Pretty crazy. Forward hard punch to back hard kick to V trigger. It's a pretty insane link. Ryu's target combo. Standing medium punch to hard kick target combo. It now does more damage and stun. You can V-trigger cancel the second hit, so you can keep your opponent on the ground and continue a ground combo. Less pushback on hit to make it easier when you cancel into V-trigger so they're closer to you. And juggles for longer. So after he flips up in the air, he's in the air longer. Just easier, like once again, if you V-trigger cancel it, easier to link things afterwards. So they basically just buffed his target combo across the board. Ryu's V reversal, now slower. This is more of a universal nerf, and pushes back further and less advantage on hit. So it's still a knockdown, just pushes back further. This is more of a universal nerf across many V reversals in the game. Ryu's V skill has been buffed. It now gives twice the V gauge. This is Ryu's parry. So now, since it literally gives twice the V gauge, and now Ryu can parry 6 times rather than 12 to gain 1 bar of V gauge. So pretty good buff. However, it's got more recovery now from 29 to 32. So yeah, if Ryu guesses wrong, it's much easier for your opponent to give you a crush counter as you're recovering by 3 frames. Ryu's fireball now. Now, they made the total animation the same for all 3 versions of his fireball: Light Punch, Medium Punch, Hard Punch. It's just the total animation from when he starts up, throws it out, and it recovers. They just normalize it so they're all the same. So I guess they did that mostly for like block strings, I'm not sure. Less meter on whiff, which means if your fireball doesn't make contact with your opponent, but more meter on contact when your opponent blocks or get hit by it. But from what I've seen, it looks like the amount of meter you gain when you do hit your opponent with it is about the same as it was in Season 1, just because you gained more meter on whiff in the first place. So it's just nerfed, basically, is what I'm saying. If you just throw it out and your opponent is jumping and dodging it, you're going to get next to no meter at all for just chucking out fireballs. Now, -6 on block from -7. Still punishable, but less punishable. And the V-trigger versions now get counter hit properly during startup. So when Ryu was doing his V-trigger fireballs on you, even though he was during the startup frame, sometimes he wasn't getting counter hit when the opponent hit him. It's just more like a bug fix. The EX version of Ryu's fireball is now +2 on block from -2. This is a cool new buff. It means when you're doing like a block string on your opponent, and then you do an EX fireball right in front of his face, you're actually +2. It's actually your turn. So if he's mashing a button or something and you press your light punch or medium punch, he's going to get hit out of it. It's kind of similar to Ken, for example. So it's cool. It just allows Ryu to maintain pressure and be more sticky on people. Alright, let's talk about Ryu's uppercut now. Light, medium, and hard strength versions do less damage in V-trigger. So they nerf the damage of it in V-trigger. The hard punch version of uppercut does less damage and much less stun, from 150 from 200 stun to 150, so a 50 stun nerf. But once, like, a lot of characters got their stuns nerfed in Street Fighter 5 in Season 2. The light version is easier to hit with low attacks. I don't know why they nerfed the light uppercut. Like, the uppercuts got nerfed enough as it is, so I don't know why they nerfed the light uppercut, but this means that when Ryu does his light version of his uppercut, it's easier for the opponent to hit you with a low attack as you're doing it. The light version has more horizontal range in V-trigger now. So that's nice. That's a little buff. The medium version of the uppercut no longer invincible on the ground from frames 1 to 2. This is a universal nerf where you can't use it as a meterless invincible reversal now. So no more wake up DP. If your opponent has a normal sticking out as you're trying to do a wake up medium uppercut, you will get stuffed. You will get hit. Added collision box to lower body during frame 6. I don't really know what this means. The collision box is like your body, so it's like when you touch your opponent, you can't go through his body. So the lower body collision, I think it just means that it's harder for your opponent to walk under your uppercut. More vertical range. Basically, they're just making it better as anti-airs. So if you happen to do your uppercut a little early, it just makes it so it can't trade with your opponent if he sticks out a normal at the same time. So they nerfed it being used as a reversal, but they buffed it being used as what it's intended for, as an anti-air. Hard punch version no longer invincible on the ground and can be thrown. I actually didn't know Ryu had invincibility frames on his hard punch uppercut, but I guess it did. But now it's no longer invincible at all, and it can be thrown out of now. So they want the hard punch uppercut to be strictly used as a combo filler tool, combo ender. The EX version of uppercut has more range horizontally and vertically, and still fully invincible. So like I said, if you want to do a wake up uppercut, you have to use the EX version now to guarantee that it will not get stuffed. So it's still fully invincible, and actually now it's got more horizontal vertical range, so it's a good buff. Alright, let's talk about Ryu's Hurricane Kick now. The light version of the Hurricane Kick does more damage. All versions, including the EX version, do 50 less stun, from 200 stun to 150 now. So they're just nerfing the stuns of all his Hurricane Kicks. Medium and hard versions easier to punish on whiff, more recovery. So when Ryu does his Hurricane Kick and you crouch it and he's sailing over your head, it's just much easier to punish him in general. The medium and hard versions do less chip damage. So if your opponent is standing and blocking and for some reason he's not crouching after it and he's just taking all the hits, it does less chip damage overall. I guess it did a lot of chip damage if your opponent's just standing there blocking for whatever reason. And the hard kick version of Ryu's Hurricane Kick does less damage. They nerfed the damage on it. Alright, Air Hurricane Kick. On hit can now juggle into super. This might not seem like a big deal, but it actually is, because now you can do something with Ryu like jumping medium punch into Hurricane Kick into super, for example. So it's kind of cool little buff. The Air EX version does 50 less stun, from 200 stun to 150. Once again, just nerfing stuns. Ryu's Super does less pushback on block, so it's much easier for your opponent to punish you. If you did some random block strain into his Super and it doesn't kill you, you're going to be much closer to your opponent. It doesn't push you as far away. It just makes it easier for people to punish you. So that's it, guys. That's the Ryu patch changes. I would say overall, in a vacuum, Ryu is nerfed. Many of his normals and neutral tools have definitely been nerfed. The standing leg kick nerf really hurts him, and I think him being a victim of the universal nerf of the throw loops, making his throw you a lot further, hurts him really bad too. I wouldn't say he's insanely nerfed, but overall, definitely I would say Ryu is nerfed. Notable buffs that you guys should keep in mind if you guys are still rocking the Ryu. His V skill got buffed. Now it gives twice the V gauge. Standing hard punch can be cancelled into specials or super in V trigger. His back hard kick now can be cancelled on both hits, including the V trigger. His forward hard punch is +8 now rather than +6, so he's got more combo potential. And his air hurricane kick can now combo into super. So that's it, guys. Let me know what you think about the Ryu changes for Season 2. Are you guys happy with these changes? Are you guys unhappy? I'm sure most of you guys are unhappy. I think they went a little overboard on Ryu, actually. But he was a really great character in Season 1. So there's some things that are warranted, but some things I think were a little overkill. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know which characters you guys want me to cover first. I'm curious on who the popular characters are that you guys want me to see do the patch notes for. So yeah, thanks for taking the time to watch this, guys, and take care.